Hello, viewers. A very good afternoon, and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. And this afternoon, let us talk about what is happening in the nation of Zimbabwe. My name is Ronald Kwamakusha. President Emerson Mnangagwa has reportedly declared a state of national disaster following the Elnino induced drought, which affected the 2023-2024 farming and agricultural season. So this is what is happening in the nation of Zimbabwe. The president of the Republic of Zimbabwe declared that things are no longer okay for the people of Zimbabwe. We heard in the past few days they were laughing at the president of Zambia, who earlier declared El Nino as a national disaster or as a state emergency. And right now they have followed suit. So Zimbabwe's government is always reactionary, and they are not ahead of the situation. They knew about the outcomes of El Nino, and the president was talking about so many harvests and great harvests, and I believe that they were not so much prepared for what is happening in the nation of Zimbabwe at this moment in time. But it's a good sign. It's good that they have shown that they are seeing what is really happening at this point in time. So Sophie Mukwena said, breaking news from Harare, Zimbabwean President ED Mnangagwa declaring state of disaster due to challenges of drought in that country. And I think the press conference was held towards the afternoon today. And Zimbabwe has always been a disaster, both economically and politically. Now there comes drought. Okay, this is a contribution from Duke Skanze. Aren't we supposed to get water from Zimbabwe? This is a South African who is asking a very important question. So I don't believe that this initiative of South Africa getting water will have anything to do with El Nino, because the water sources which they are using in that area, they are likely having more and more water. So than the state of disaster, whilst so this is what's happening. This is in response to what Advocate Fazema had said. Okay, and the whole country has been in a state of disaster ever since he resumed office in 2018 and way before that. And this is Sophie. These guys are doing the worst other than declaration of drought in the country. They are on looting spree. So this declaration, what it means is the Zimbabwean government will need to be proactive in terms of making sure that the vulnerable communities does have sufficient food, because when we face these challenges, especially the poor, women, widows, orphans, they suffer a lot. They suffer the most, and you know how it is when you have nothing to eat. You can do anything. So Anzi Pana Celestino Zwanzi is the nation's disaster. Thank you very much for this contribution, Mnyarazi. And in terms of Zimbabwe, this is what it is happening at this moment in time. We are trying to take a look on the comments from other people's friends, and these friends are dishing out cars worth millions of dollars. Living in Africa is a liability. So that individual doesn't deserve the title of president. He is more accurately described as a chief looter. Nothing productive ever comes from that imposter. Okay, so declaring state of disaster is not a solution. Where am I going to get food? So this is a very powerful point being raised right here. Only a declaration does not mean anything. What we need is action. What are you going to do as the government to make sure that there is sufficient food in our homes, especially for the vulnerable communities in the rural areas and in poor suburbs across Harare? So those are the very important issues we need to take a look on and make sure that they are addressed. The government of Zimbabwe should actually bring real solutions, not the dirty kind of politics they are playing with people's lives. So earlier on, we had USA aid, which had come to Zimbabwe to assist or to actually investigate and see how poor people are in need of food aid, but they were chased out of Zimbabwe. So you'd see that there is need for the government of Zimbabwe to be serious. There is need for the government of Zimbabwe to actually understand that they need to beg the people of Zimbabwe. Just imagine if the government had invested in making sure that Tokwe Mkosi and the areas in the low veld are 100% producing all seasons. They were going to cover a load, because if you take a look, Tokwe Mkosi can cater for people in Chivi area. It can cater for people in Masvingo South. It can also cater for people in Mwenezi and Chiredzi. So all those areas going down, they can be catered for by Tokwe Mkosi alone. And we have Lake, is it Lake Kyle, which connects with Mtirikwi River. It's also another area which can be utilized in terms of irrigation if there is proper planning by the government. But you'd see and understand that all those irrigation schemes are not being put into place. Right now, the government of Zimbabwe is considering evicting Mwenezi people who were affected and removed from Tokwe Mkosi. They are thinking of evicting them for other purposes. Instead of giving them irrigation water, they want to evict them. This is the kind of government we are dealing with right here. People have been building for the past 10 years, developing their homes, and now they're being threatened with evictions each and every time. And they are being told, no questions, no what, murukwenda. Just imagine, you are going into a 1 hectare plot of land. Those are the problems. So they do not have any solution to the problems we are facing, but they will continue crying and crying and crying and crying. If Zimbabwe was utilizing Tokwe Mkosi Dam, Lake Kyle Dam, I think that is Mtirikwi. If they were utilizing these dams in terms of irrigation, you would see that we are not going to be much affected, because in areas like Mwenezi in the low veld, you can even produce in winter, because yes, it will be cold, but the temperatures are manageable. For example, if you plant early August, it means by Christmas you'll be harvesting. And if you plant early January, it means by May you'll be harvesting. And then you find a crop which you plant between May and August, which will ripe faster. So you can actually utilize that land 24/7. And that is the reason why we say this government does not think and act properly, because they are failing to adopt clear plans which were left by the Smith regime. There are very, very clear plans which were left, but they are failing to utilize them. So this is what is happening. Tingada areas dzese dzekuna uswa ushava rengo Mwenezi Chiredzi, all those areas dzingada dziri kuwana irrigation, but there is nothing which is happening, or there's little effort from the government, or no effort at all from the government. They are actually planning to relocate people in such areas so that they bring their own friends and foes. But this is what is happening in the nation of Zimbabwe at this particular moment. President Emmerson Mnangagwa declared 2023 to 2024 season a national disaster. So this is the news, and we'll continue to watch and see how they are going to deal with this matter to find solutions to make sure that the people of Zimbabwe, especially or particularly the vulnerable communities, are saved. Thank you very much for coming. Let us meet in other episodes as well as other broadcasts.